Hi, I'm Nikki Schultek, the founder of Intracell Research Group, coming to you today on the heels of the biggest infectious disease conference of the year around the globe. It's called ID Week, and I had the privilege of attending a meeting with a group of stakeholders in Alzheimer's disease, scientists, physicians, people in business, people in advocacy, and what is a group of people, you're probably wondering, that work in Alzheimer's disease doing at an infectious disease conference? And that's a great question, and the answer is really pretty simple. We were there because over the last 30 years, there has been truly credible evidence published in medical journals linking various bacteria and viruses and other organisms to the onset and progression of one of our most devastating diseases globally, which is Alzheimer's, and under the greater heading of dementia. So we met in Washington, D.C., and discussed paths moving forward. Based upon this research, we networked with one another and we broke down the silos that exist in healthcare and in medicine, whereby people typically sort of stay within their lane and don't reach out to others that are in and around similar areas, either because of competition or because they simply don't think to do so. So this was sort of a groundbreaking turning point for this cause, because it really brought a group of people together that are innovators under one roof. And it's all thanks to an organization called Alzheimer's Germ Quest, which was started by Dr. Leslie Norens. His background is infectious diseases, and his wife, Rainey Norens. They decided several years ago to take it upon themselves to research the medical literature and spend years doing so to find out what really causes Alzheimer's disease, because of all of the drugs that have attempted to come to market that have failed, we're truly at a desperate point where patients and families need answers. We need to better understand what happens before this terrible disease starts. So Dr. Norens ended up stumbling upon and truly being impressed by the research on microorganisms. So bacteria, viruses, and other agents that have been found in the brains of patients with Alzheimer's disease, and have also been found that they have the capability of causing some of the hallmarks of the disease, which are inflammation and something called neurodegeneration, where things basically break down. So it was an utter privilege, and I must say for me that it was an incredibly emotional week with a lot of tears shed, mostly of joy, to feel, that this cause, which is so worthy, is truly beginning to advance, and that the exposure for the cause is growing. And it is really personal for me, as it is for many that get involved in this disease, because at a young age, I too had gotten sick myself, and that is how I began Intracell Research Group. About 4.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with several different diseases over the course of a year, and it ended up for me, in my case, that chronic bacterial infection was really driving my disease process, because being treated with antibiotic therapy over a long period of time placed my diseases into remission. Now, what I had to do in order to get better was network with physicians and researchers around the world. And I did so because I had 12 different specialists caring for me, and not a single one of them could really put the puzzle together. Everyone was sort of operating in one of these silos where they were looking at the one particular part of the body that was troubling me and not taking it in the context of the bigger picture, where I had several different things going on at once. I began to wonder, well, what happens before an autoimmune disease starts? And why would a young, healthy person taking great care of herself with 2 little boys to raise get so sick? So when I began my group, I did it because I knew that I wasn't the only one, that there was a great likelihood that for a variety of reasons, probably genetic, some of us are simply better homes for chronic bacterial infection and chronic viral infections. And knowing that my children are genetically similar to me, I feel a tremendous sense of obligation to help advance our understanding of chronic infection and various diseases. So how does a young person getting sick translate to working in Alzheimer's disease? That's a great question. that I get asked oftentimes. And the answer is that I decided to begin with the disease where there is a huge amount of published research, so the highest level of evidence, as they call it in medicine, and the most unmet need. And Alzheimer's really sticks out because when you look at it, the evidence on infection is incredibly robust and credible. But also, the bottom line is it's a huge problem, and it's a problem for all of us if we don't fix it. Because by 2050, the Alzheimer's Association says the prevalence will be about 1 in 2 people will die with the disease. It's absolutely horrific, and people are suffering. And I have decided to get involved and to not give up until we clarify the situation. Alzheimer's is where we begin, but for me personally, I see it as a really integral starting point to our world having a better understanding of how chronic infections are driving or starting or are being associated with some of our worst diseases. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. And please, if you find it to be interesting, please share it.